Bom dia, Carl Munson here. It's the Good Morning Portugal Happy Homesteaders live stream here on Facebook Live on the Good Morning Portugal page. That's what we do every weekday morning. And then I stick it up on YouTube, the replay or the archive and the library ends up on YouTube. And it's also a podcast which you can subscribe to and download from Spotify as well as all other leading podcasting platforms. Now, you might be able to ascertain here, I'm a bit tired. I don't understand why I'm tired this morning and why this is a habit on a Monday morning. Every day is pretty much like every other day. The weekend is quite meaningless, and yet I still have this kind of Monday morning feeling. I don't know if it's the same for you. Is it just am I picking up on the kind of the vibes of the world? Is it my conditioning to feel a little bit knackered basically on a Monday morning? What's going on? Why does that still happen when all the days are pretty much the same? Fascinating. Okay, so let me know how you're feeling this morning. Let me know, obviously, who you are and where you are. It's always great to hear from you, and thank you for all those people who are joining me already this morning in anticipation of getting an update about the COVID coronavirus facts and figures for Portugal, which is what we do to begin the show. But then, of course, we welcome a special guest, and today's special guest is Chris Paradox, the inspiration engineer of 1 trillion trees. And if you want to find out a bit more about 1 trillion trees, you can do that at 1trillion.trees.community ahead of Chris's arrival. And good morning to you, Tony. Good morning, Carl. Welcome to the new week. Yes, it's an abstract concept, but we'll go with it, Tony. Nice weather on the way. Thank you for that. Yeah, I'm looking at the studio thermometer outside currently here in Coria, pretty much central Portugal, fairly close to the coast, 13.8 degrees outside, a whopping 17.2 degrees inside, but that's because of the fan heater, which I'm loath to use after my frightening EDP bill for the winter. Good morning from Steve as well. Steve and Claire. Good morning, Carl. It's actually Claire and Steve, I should say. Steve's probably just taking it easy in the background and tea and toast. Good morning, Carl, from a very rainy Lole. Still in bed, as not worth getting up yet. So Monday morning at the McGibbon household as well, right? Is that how it's feeling there? And Stephanie Bennett, good morning to you. So let's go look at the update of the latest numbers. Obviously, the temperature's rising. It flies in the studio already. And it's not because of my poor hygiene, I can assure you. But that's what happens, isn't it? It's the ups and the downs of good weather is that you get flies as a little bit of a organic thermometer, if you like. So let's go to Worldometer and see what's being said on Worldometer. And let's go start with the headline figures for the whole of the world. According to Worldometer, anyway, .info, and we can see their total coronavirus cases around the world are nudging their way towards 3 million. 207,024 deaths around the world. This is not Portugal figures. We'll drill down into those in a moment. And recoveries, 881,903. That's the world picture, okay, folks, right now. And yes, good morning. The sun is shining today in London, says Hannah. So let's go back to a Worldometer and scroll down to Portugal and see what's happening specifically in this, our country of choice. Our guest today, Chris Paradox, is making his way to Portugal, coincidentally, as well. So it'll be nice to have him as a neighbour soon. Coronavirus cases in Portugal, then, 23,864, 903 deaths, sadly, here, and recoveries edging away, outnumbering deaths, as you would hope and expect, in a way. Recoveries of 1,329. I think it's interesting. This is the figure that I've been fascinated by, is the deaths per million of population. I'm a cheerful soul, aren't I, on a Monday morning? But isn't this the one that really makes the difference as to how well a country is handling things? I was reminded on the listening to English radio this morning that lockdown is not the answer in its own right, is it? It's just a means to an end. It's just part of the process to minimise infection and death. But look, the San Marino, you don't hear a lot about San Marino ever, really, do you? Apart from in the World Cup, maybe. And no disrespect to anyone who's from there, who would obviously hold it dearly in their hearts. But look, deaths per million of population there, up to 1,000, followed by Belgium, 600 deaths, Andorra, Spain and Italy following thereafter. That to me is almost like the analysis of how badly this is affecting a country and the evidence of their preparation, their curve flattening, whatever you want to call it, in dealing with the coronavirus. So yeah, not a good picture from San Marino there. And obviously, at the other end of the spectrum, we should look for the people who are doing their best job here in avoiding the coronavirus. But again, there are so many variables in this, aren't there? Um, Oh, the sun is hiding today, not sun is shining in London. Thank you for that weather report from you, Hannah. But yeah, just saying there are so many variables in this. It's like you think you've got a kind of figure or a statistical analysis that you can trust, and then it's a constantly moving picture. The effects of lockdowns in various countries and cultural responses will be only known in retrospect, I suppose. So we just got to do what we got to do and go with the best possible feeling. Good news is tomorrow that we're welcoming Will Thompson, back on the show tomorrow, Thompson Tuesday, and we're going to focus on building immunity, which is often again another thing missing from the picture. So your tips, please, on how you're building and sustaining and maintaining your immunity on this ongoing journey, this curveball from nowhere, it would appear. Only a few people sort of suspected or predicted this, and here we are in the middle of it. So your strategies for building your immunity, very important, and let's share them, discuss them tomorrow. With that Sherlock Holmes of coronavirus, based in Portugal as well, of course, Will Thompson, originally from Scotland. And then on Wednesday, very proud to announce, and this is I think we all know this, don't we, in the back of our minds, that we perhaps should be doing. Oh, I know there are some teachers' pets out there, but generally speaking, we know we should be doing more to learn Portuguese. I have got into partnership with a guys I really like and have done from the moment I've tried to learn Portuguese, and that journey has been a bumpy one and a bit patchy, a bit sketchy. Practice Portuguese. Joel and Rui from Practice Portuguese, in partnership with them, and we will be having a Portuguese module every day. Tiny little bit of Portuguese, a little and often, I think, is the way to learn this. And I am now in partnership with Practice Portuguese, and we'll say more about that on Wednesday. On Thursday, Dr. Mick, a new entry to the show team. He volunteered his services. You might have seen him in the comments and in mingling among the community. Dr. Mick will be with us on Thursday, and he was going to talk about maintaining good mental health during the lockdown. We can do that, of course, but I think we should perhaps see what else he has to say, because we're looking at his Facebook timeline, and you believe you can say something or glean something from people from their Facebook timeline. It's a little bit of evidence anyway, but he's a fascinating fella, and looking forward to hearing his particular view on the coronavirus and the culture that's emerging, really, and what we can do in the midst of it and in the long term. And that's, of course, what we're all about this morning, talking to Chris Paradox and 1 Trillion Trees. This is the way beyond this current phenomenon. So let's say a few hellos to folks. Actually, let's get Chris on. Let's share the screen with Chris and say good morning to you, Chris.
Morning to you, everybody. Portugal.
Hi, hola, bom dia, Portugal. You'll be on the ground here and soon able to say that, Chris. I'm delighted to say. So let's say hi to a few of these folks. Yeah, hello from Fundão, which I think you will know, Chris. Julie is in Fundão. Eloise, good morning, Carl from cloudy Panella. The sun is fighting to get through, but it's not forecast to succeed. Boo! Okay, we'll see about that. They're not always right, are they? I'm drinking Dettol, as Donald told me to. Great for the immune system, says Hannah. Hopefully with a Domestos chaser or something like that. in these South Londoners, what are they like? Morning, gents, from Mrs. M. Hello to you. She is a bit tired this morning as well. And this Monday morning thing, what's that all about? Is it are we ingrained culturally to feel a little bit tired on a Monday morning? I know I am, and I know Mrs. M is as well. Owen, good morning to you. Morning, you beautiful people. What a lovely welcome to the Good Morning Portugal community from Owen. Hope you're doing well, mate. Good morning to everyone, and to Chris, says Louisa, and from Chantel. Hello from Maya in Porto. So good morning to you, Chantel. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. So do chip in as you hear the amazing story from Chris Paradox. We could do a series of shows about his life, let alone trees, But I think we should maybe stay on a topic here, the tree topic this morning, Chris, because that's what you're here to talk about. And I was thinking of it as a model. And it's like the fried egg of doom. The yolk is like where we're at the moment with the coronavirus. We were already in the egg white of climate crisis, and we were in a frying pan of neoliberal capitalism. And you have a proposal to help us ease our way away from the frying pan of doom. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you. Yeah, and got nothing to do with being lacto-ovo vegan either, or vegetarian, using the fried egg analogy. I don't know. Eggs are okay. I love eggs. They're very good for you.
Okay.
Maybe I should be a little bit more serious. I can't help it, Carl. You're such a good host. I just want to sit here and enjoy you talking.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here with you. But it's all about you this morning. Well, it's all about the trees, isn't it? Let's face it.
Yeah.
We're friends. We go back a little way. We've seen each other's kind of journeys and adventures in coping with life itself. And what I've seen just recently is that your engagement with trees has really kind of gelled, and it's like it seems to be your life's work now to reforest the earth. It's quite a big undertaking, but it just also seems so right, Chris, as well. Could you give us a bit of background?
Okay. Well, my engagement in trees, I'd have to be honest and say it's really 18 years old from when I went to live under a tree in Battersea Park in 2002 and sold The Big Issue. For 7 months, I lived under a tree in a park, and it was completely transformative. I was a typical city boy, didn't have much connection with nature. But when I decided to make myself homeless, I just felt to myself, well, if I'm going to sleep on the streets, I'm going to sleep in a park. I'm not going to sleep on the streets. I'm going to sleep in a park. I'm going to sleep under a tree. It just made sense. And best decision I ever made. The first morning I woke up in a sort of Disney cartoon heavenly realm where nature was alive, I was alive, and I was connected to nature, and I talked to the trees and hugged the trees, and the trees talked to me, and the squirrels talked to me, and so I had a very mystical connection with trees from that point. And as you said, it's developed over the years, and now I've just reached a place where I'm happy and fulfilled, and I don't really need anything, and I don't really have an agenda, so that frees me up to serve. And the thing I feel like serving most is the earth, the planet, nature, the thing that is my source of everything and our source of everything. And it seemed I basically received the, not even guidance really, just the obviousness of the fact that we're destroying the planet in so many ways, not just by emitting greenhouse gases and causing climate change, but by our agricultural practices, which deforest and turn fertile soil into dead soil and deserts, and remove the water table and destroy biodiversity and destroy ecosystems. All of these things we're doing, there is one single thing that can address them all, and that's planting trees. Trees are the most valuable children of Mother Nature, as I like to think of it. They do more for other species and the earth, the planet, the water cycle, and us than any other single being. And we've cut down 3 trillion trees in 10,000 years since agriculture. We've cut down half of the earth's trees, 3 trillion. And that's part of our cultural approach to our relationship to nature, whereby we're always taking, take, and we don't think to give back. And the trees have told me that we've reached a place of evolve or die. If we continue taking without giving back, we will extinct ourselves. I think that's obvious. I think anyone who's honest can see that. So it's not really a big undertaking to say we need to reforest the world. We need to use regenerative agriculture, and we need to use regenerative culture. And we've got to do it on a massive scale. I call it a massive geo-gardening, terraforming, biosphere saving scale. We can't do it piecemeal. Local tree planting and regenerative agriculture products need to be supported, but we also need to aggregate and connect and organize and do it on a global level, which is why I founded 1 Trillion Trees CIC to do exactly that.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Now, I'll be switching mics on and off so to reduce feedback in case you're aware of any sort of gaps and my not my usual slick production style. But that's amazing, Chris, and it is staggering when we hear the figures of what we've done to the forest, and and yes, it's a sobering message. But then I watch your I go to your Patreon page and I see one of the approaches to this is forest gardening. And that is so deeply moving and inspiring. I was moved to tears seeing what's happening in, I think, Senegal it was, about how people are actually, it's kind of fairly easy for us to be in the way we're suffering here with the environmental crisis, isn't it? We've got a lot of distractions. But when you see how barely laid out and grim it is in Senegal, but what they've done to turn it round, that is so inspiring, and we could have a bit of that everywhere, all over the planet, I think.
Exactly, and absolutely. I mean, forest gardens are the key. I mean, if you think about it, the Garden of Eden was a forest garden, and Trees for the Future, which is 1 Trillion Tree CIC sponsored charity. So all of the tree planting we do through Trees for the Future, and the reason we chose them is because they plant the right trees in the right way with the right local people. They know what they're doing. They've proved that within a year of training and teaching farmers all over sub-Saharan Africa how to plant forest gardens, within a year, the figures go from 83% of the farmers and the families were food insecure before they started a forest garden, and after just a year, that lowers to 14%. Of farmers are food insecure, and after 4 years it's obviously even higher. So forest gardens are the way, no doubt about it. They can be grown all over the world, but as well as forest gardens, there's other regenerative agriculture techniques. Alan Savory has a very famous TED talk where he talks about actually mimicking nature by the use of cattle and certain grazing techniques, which are regreening the deserts and the savannas. There's obviously permaculture. There's obviously a number of brilliant ways, mushrooms, mycelium. The thing is that we have the technology, so to speak, the natural technology, the regenerative technology to regreen the deserts of the world, to reforest the world, and it's the cheapest solution to climate change and environmental destruction and the destruction of the biosphere. It's the cheapest, and it's the one that we need least permission to do. We don't need permission from the oil companies or the UN or the governments or Trump or anybody else to plant trees, as opposed to a lot of the attempts to get the worst polluters and offenders to stop doing it, which we definitely need to do, but it's very hard when you play their own game and you do it through the laws and you do it through the courts. But if you take the responsibility as citizens, as communities, as people, to either support the tree planting charities or the regenerative agriculture non-profits, or to plant trees yourself, no one can stop you. So that's why I say we should do that, because there's nothing stopping us except us doing it. So again, 1 Trillion Trees is set up to not only inspire and encourage us to do it, but to empower us to do it, because we make it easy. You can literally do it by clicking buttons on the internet. So you can actually give back to Mother Earth in a large way, very quickly, through our game, Saving the World for Real, the life-saving role-playing game, as I've christened it.
That sounds amazing. So, is the best place to find out more about this 1trillion.trees.community? Is that the sort of hub of all of this?
No, that was the website that we created. I'm getting that thing now. Is there anything you can do about that? Yeah, that sounds better. I can not hear myself the second time now. Yeah, we've the place to go is patreon.com/saving the world for real. Capital letters for each of the first letters. Saving capital S, the capital T, world capital W, for capital F, real capital R. And that is our crowdfunding page. Basically, that's where all the details you need about who we plant through, how it works, where the money goes, and what how you can help and how to play the game. It's all there. But one thing I do want to say is something that's a little bit hidden in there, but I think is a really powerful part. Although we definitely need to regenerate and remove carbon, sequester carbon, that's the other thing that forest gardens do. That's why it addresses climate change as well as all the other problems. We still do need to slow down and stop fossil fuel emissions and all the work that people do, Extinction Rebellion, all the people who campaign against the insanity of continuing to use fossil fuels. We support the group of activists and protesters that do that. But what we do is we take a lateral approach. Again, rather than beating our heads against the brick wall of the economic system and that demands that we keep using fossil fuels because they're profitable, even though what's happening now with the oil companies is great. But assuming we get back to what we did before, the game basically encourages boycotting, personal, local, national, and global boycotts of the worst offenders, whether it be companies, products, or service. The worst offenders of deforestation. So, for example, beef, palm oil, plastic pollution. The problem with the oceans is enormous. And again, the trees are the land's part of the solution, but we have to sort out the oceans as well. So plastic pollution, just using straws and plastic bags, it's insanity. So we're going to encourage people to start boycotting things like that, even more than they are already. And then the worst fossil fuel emitters. So there are lots of companies that plant trees when you buy a product for them. So they are trying to offset their carbon footprint. There's lots of other ethical companies that are reducing their carbon footprint using renewable energies and what have you. So what we want to do is shrink the market for companies who are making money through deforestation, plastic pollution, and greenhouse gas emission. And we're doing that by using the one power that we, the people, have over the system. It's not through the courts, it's not through the governments, it's through our purchasing power. The weakness of capitalism is that the consumers have all the power. All we have to do, those of us who don't want to destroy the planet, is stop spending money on planet destroying products. And we need to organize ourselves in communities. Locally, we can do it personally. You can do personal bans, no beef, no palm oil, etc. We can do it in our families. Mothers can say, right, we're not buying this anymore as a family. Communities can do it, right, we're not shopping with these companies as a community. And then we can do it nationally and globally through social media. So a big part of the game is, as I say, taking the money out of businesses that make money from destroying the planet. And again, nobody can stop us doing it. We just have to organize it and do it.
Chris, I'm just opening my mic and muting yours. I'm loving the approach here because so often it is it's difficult and negative, isn't it? And that takes its toll on us. And I do like your game approach here and the kind of the positive positioning of how you're doing this is that you're turning it into a game and you made it sound a lot of fun, like sticking it to the man instead of like being like, oh my God, an endless miserable task. Sticking it to the man using sort of consumer capitalist power against the machine as a game, as a bit of fun, as something you can sit with your kids at the end of the day. And how much did we stick it to the man today? Well, we didn't buy this, that, or the other. Yes, and we were in our Forest of Eden, our Garden of Eden, forest garden as well for a lot of the day, having a great time. Because that, of course, is part of it. And the practicality is so important as well, you know, like putting our shoulders to the pump or whatever the expressions are to get out there and build these forest gardens and enjoy them and just to live beautiful lives as well. Superb. We have got, I think we've got quite a few folks joining us from the UK. Vinny, Sarah, and Bronwyn's here as well. Good morning to you. We have someone with an MBE tuned in this morning, everybody. We have to speak to Bronwyn from her position of power and influence with that MBE to help us in this cause as well. That's what they're for, after all. Amen, Chris says, sorry, Chris, I will open the mic up again. Just a few of these questions I want to chuck in. Amen, Chris, says Stephanie, regular viewer Stephanie. Interesting. What about burning wood? There's some practical questions in, and we will deal with all of these. If not this morning, then ongoingly we will here on Good Morning Portugal and the Happy Homesteaders Group. But what about burning wood? Very popular here in Portugal. Sorry if it's been covered. Joined late this morning. We'll come back to that, but that's a very good point. What are the best trees to grow in? Oh, sorry, beg your pardon. Over to you. I'll mute mine.
Yeah, just very quickly, I just wanted to say something on the thing about the fun side of the game and what you were talking about in terms of the doom and gloom and misery, and I totally understand it. For me, the thing is that any response to what's going on in the world, any attempt to respond from a place of fear and misery won't work. It just won't work. It will just create more of the same. That's what's already going on, has been going on for years. Is that if we come from anger, if we come from fear, we will just add to the problem. Because one thing that I have experienced is that love alone heals. Nothing heals but love. Love heals fear. Love heals pain. Love heals the fear and pain that is causing all of our problems. And so it's loving responses, joyful responses that actually work. And that's why, again, you pointed it out, that's why I've created a game, because there are lots of tree planting charities and there's lots of people doing great work, but they don't get funded because there's no excitement to do it. There's no joy in doing it. People can't see the immediate benefit of, I'm actually making a difference. You need to feel that you're making progress. You need to feel that you're contributing. If you're doing things where the government is saying no, and all you can see is more forest being chopped down, and all you see is the bad news, and if you're doing something and you're battling against all the bad news, you'll get demoralized, you'll get burnt out, you won't be effective. So you have to do something which, as you're doing it, you can actually see the difference you're making. And you can actually literally feel proud of yourself and feel, I'm making a contribution, I'm doing something. And you can actually do it with your family and your friends and, banter and compete with yourself to do more. So it encourages you to focus on what you can do, not what you can't do. And it encourages that fun aspect. And honestly, it's the most important thing. We cannot save the world from misery and fear and pain. We have to find our joy, find our gifts, find our creative solutions, find our hope, find our inspiration, because that's what will do it. To me, it is very, very important. It's essential to make it fun, to make it a game, to bring the lightness and the humor into it.
Amazing. And I'm just putting that comment, amen, Chris, there again, because absolutely right. I want to just add the full weight of the Good Morning Portugal, I don't know, juggernaut, I'd like to call it, to that very mission, and do it in that way, because it's like it is a phase we've gone through, isn't it? It's understandably people since Silent Spring, Rachel Carson, the 70s, the environmental awakening. It was miserable. It was horrible to discover what we were doing to our planet and ourselves. And we've been through the long process of grief and anger and all those things that are completely understandable. And I think you're right as well. We've got to the love bit, haven't we? We're just playing with the idea that we could do this in a loving way, in a fun way, and how bloody awesome would that be?
As bloody awesome as you can imagine. More awesome. More awesome than you can imagine. That's the thing. It creates. For me, it's about coming together. The very act of coming together, the very act of connecting with and working with and playing with other people who care about the planet, who really care, who care enough to do something, not just talk about it, who care enough to dedicate themselves to boycotting products, actually changing their lives and how they live their lives, and also what they do in the community, sharing, helping, supporting. The feeling of doing that, I'm sure most of us have been involved in movements and communities that had a goal, whether it's a crowdfunding goal, to change a law, to do something. But when you're involved in something you really care about with other people who really care about it, there's nothing like it. And there's billions of us in the world that care about the planet and know we need to give back. And to me, the most exciting thing is to be creating a catalyst for that, a place that facilitates that and that brings everybody together. Because I just see so much talent and passion and creativity and brilliant solutions and just amazing, lovely people. And I'll say one, I know I'm talking a lot, but I've got a favorite analogy that I use, and to me, it just says it all. So when you look at the idea of a laser, the word laser stands for light amplified by stimulated emission of radiation. And in a laser, what happens is normally when you shine light out of a light bulb, say, or the sun, all the light, it radiates. It goes in all different directions, so it lights up the whole room. But in a laser, the light source is focused through a material, often a ruby crystal, which is why we think of them as red often. And in the crystal itself, what it does is it polarizes all the light. So instead of the light going off in different directions, all the light goes in the same direction. So it makes the light coherent and focused. And that transforms light, which is powerful enough to light a room, into light that is powerful enough to cut through metal. And that is what those of us who care about the earth, we need to do that. We need to focus and become coherent, because our power when we do that is easily enough to literally overcome what I call the forces of death and profit, the forces that will destroy the planet and exploit people in the name of profit. They seem to be all powerful, but they're nowhere near as powerful as the force of the people coming together, tapping into our synergy like a laser, and bringing us all into that same focused direction of we're here to serve Mother Nature, to give back to Mother Nature, to re-green the world, to save ourselves from extinction. That focus is laser-like, and yeah, it's the most exciting thing for me.
Beautiful, and we're with you. Do feel free to use the Good Morning Portugal live stream as your own home, as your own living room, and come back and update us. And I'm looking forward to you being in Portugal, coincidentally, as well. That's pretty amazing. I don't know if we could finish with you saying something about that, but I mean, over to you for the last word on the live stream this morning, Chris. Just before we go, thanks to everyone who's tuned in this morning and heard what you've had to say. It's just so lovely that, like you say, coming together. And I extend that invitation to everybody here to be a happy homesteader, to start your forest garden. If you can't do that at the moment, go to patreon.com, saving the world for real, with those important capitals there. But we'll link you up, whatever. Let's do this together. All the best phrases have been stolen. Like, we're all in this together. It's got such a hollow ring to it, but it's still true. So over to you, Chris, for a final word.
Okay, thanks, Carl. Yeah, very excited to be moving to Portugal in the next couple of months. And I wanted to say to all the Portuguese family, all the people that are out there already, all the people on this podcast, obviously, part of the 1 trillion tree CIC plan is that we're funding regenerative agriculture and regenerative culture projects. And what we want to do is we're creating a center to train people to plant forest gardens, hopefully all over Portugal. So I'm looking forward to hooking up and connecting with everyone, because we're gonna start training each other, basically, so that we do it the right way. And somebody asked what are the right trees, so we're going to be doing that. And I think the best thing for me to finish on, if you don't mind, Carl, is my poem. So the trees gave me a poem called 1 Trillion Trees, which says it all, really. So I'll just finish with a poem. 1 trillion trees, 1 trillion birds, 1 trillion bees, the tree generation of Mother Earth with 1 trillion seeds, protecting biodiversity, reversing climate emergency with an urgent emerging fertility, and the unbelievably fecund versatility of a fundamentally sound ecology, with humanity responsibly evolving to be unity beautifully through the mystery of 1 trillion trees. 1 trillion trees can turn deserts into forest gardens, sequester 100% of atmospheric carbon, feed every single one of our starving, and finally get our conscious evolution started. 1 trillion trees can heal Mother Earth, you see, from the idiocy and perversity of allowing greed to extinct species. I beg of you, please, be reasonable. Plant 1 trillion trees. Yes, it is feasible. It's not beyond our grasp. It's reachable, because planting trees as forest gardens is absolutely unimpeachable. See, this isn't my idea. Seriously, it really isn't about me. Believe me, 1 trillion trees CIC is the brainchild of those beautiful things with the leaves. See, I was kind of born under a tree. I'm kind of a tree devotee. So they talk to me like a lover, and they care for me like a mother. They remind me there is no other. Every woman a sister, every man a brother. So to me, a tree is a symbol of unity. Trees are the epitome of beauty. And deep in my heart, I feel it's my duty to help you see what I see. And what I see is the trees telling me that we can save the world by planting 1 trillion trees. Thank you very much, everyone. Lovely to see you. Hope to see you again soon. Thanks very much, Carl, for having me on.
Absolute pleasure, Chris. Take care. Hola, bon dia to everybody. Have a great day. Bye for now. Looking forward to welcoming Chris back soon and having you in Portugal, my friend. Take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Bye.